All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What is going on, YouTube station? We're back for another episode of The Witching Hour, and it's Sunday morning. You know what that means. It's Ham and Nades bringing you your breakfast. Put down the coffee, grab the mouse, click the like button, click the subscribe button. We're ready to bring you the winners for this 10-game slate. FanDuel did include the Detroit-Minnesota game. DraftKings did not, since the time did get moved there, so we will still talk on that game for all the FanDuel people out here, but we definitely appreciate y'all tuning in. If you guys are new, like button, subscribe button helps us out a ton over here. We bring you these winners 6 days a week. And my guy Hamwich is now doing a nice little MLB quick hit video on Saturday, getting his winners out there for the people. Without further ado, let me bring you in. Hamwich, how we doing? Happy Sunday. Hopefully your weekend's going good. I know we've been crushing over here in the MLB streets, looking to keep that rolling. But how's your weekend? How you doing, man?
Yeah, thanks. Doing good, Nate. It's a good weekend. Good weather here in Tennessee, and a lot of good weather in these parks across the U.S. today. So we got a lot to talk about as it relates to the weather. I think we got some spots where you can get different. Obviously, the Braves are going to be very popular, but we can play the Braves. We can play them with other bats, and we got some low-owned gems that we think we're going to uncover today. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Typical June, July baseball, right? Across the country, weather warms up. Totals start coming up. I mean, we see the Braves total 11.5, Coors Field at 13. Obviously, Coors Field is always up there, but 13 is a little high even for that. I mean, 9.5 totals across the board, kind of. So as the weather comes, the runs start coming, and that's what we saw last night. The Angels put up 23 runs in 4 innings in Coors Field last night. Absolutely absurd on the night slate yesterday. The Braves and Cincy game has just been batting practice the entire series. But overall, I mean, it's been a great weekend. Looking forward to jumping in here. Let's go ahead and jump into pitching here. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go DraftKings pricing. We'll go 8,900, or let's go 9K and above. Or 9,100 and above. So we got Corbin Burnes up to Garrett Cole. You got Morton in there, Wheeler and Eovaldi. Touch on those 5. I'm seeing in terms of ownership, I'm seeing the only 2 really getting ownership in this range above 10% are Zach Wheeler, Garrett Cole, both projected right around 20 to 23%, 25%, somewhere in that range. Obviously, Garrett Cole gets Texas at home, facing Eovaldi on the other side. So a nice little pitcher's duo there. Zach Wheeler has these Mets who haven't been incredible. It is great weather in Philly. I do like the Phillies bats a little bit when we talk on that. I know you will as well against Cookie Carrasco. So he should have some run support, pretty healthy projection over here as well. Hit on those 5. What interest do you have in these guys? You're on mute, buddy.
Yeah, rookie mistake there. Sorry about that. But great pitchers in real life and great pitchers DFS. Let's start at the top with Garrett Cole. I mean, he's got electric stuff, throws about 97 miles an hour. You know he's going to get 100 pitches every game, it seems like. I'm going to be lower on Garrett Cole than most, just because this Texas lineup does scare me a little bit. And we'll talk a little bit about the bats that we have interest in. But when it comes to pitchers, I'll be lower on Cole than the rest. Eovaldi really struggled his last game. And in Yankee Stadium, short porch there, both sides. I'm going to be off Eovaldi. Zach Wheeler, tons of interest in. He's got good history against these Mets. Good K upside, and his pitches look very well against this Mets lineup. I mean, obviously, there's a couple folks in there that can that scare you a little bit, but Wheeler's good. Morton, I'm off just in that the way the Reds are playing, how hot it is there in Cincinnati, Great American Small Park, as you refer to it, and just not going to be on Morton there. And then Corbin Burnes, who all the SHIPIT Nation subscribers know how much we like him today. But he's got a little bit of holes you can poke at him. I mean, this Guardians lineup is striking out under 20%. So, do you want to pay 9,100 for a guy that's not going to strike out many, according to what the statistics say? So in this group, I'm going to go Wheeler 1. I would go Garrett Cole 2 and Corbin Burns 3 if I had to choose, but mainly focus on Zach Wheeler up in this range.
Yeah, I'm kind of in lockstep with you here. I just don't really have any interest in going to either one of those pitchers at their price tag in that Texas New York game. Small park there. Let me pull up the weather real quick. Obviously, weather is a big talking point on the slate, but we do have a lot of good weather across. Yeah, so it's going to be 90 degrees, wind blowing out to the left. It's pretty good hitters park, and 318 down the lines, 314 down the right field line. Wind's blowing out a little bit, 90 degrees. That ball's going to jump, and we always know, right, what Garrett Cole can do. Garrett Cole gives up the home run ball in Texas. Kind of 1 through 9 can launch bombs in that lineup. So the only thing, right, is we talk about pitch counts, and all of these guys are going to throw 95 to 100 plus pitches. Garrett Cole for sure probably has the longest leash out of all these guys, outside of maybe Zach Wheeler, I would say. They average right around the same. They all throw right around 6 innings so far in their combined starts average on the year. But for me, it's Zach Wheeler, number 1, up in this range. I'm just going to continue to pick on. I don't mind picking on the Mets compared to these other teams up here at the top. The Mets do still strike out right around 21% on the road this year against right-handed pitching. Zach Wheeler's got good stuff. 27% K rate, barrel rate of just 4.5%, so limits hard contact there. Expected ERA 3.17, and the Phillies get to face Cookie Carrasco on the mound for the Mets. So I do think Phillies are going to have some run support behind Zach Wheeler. Definitely helps him. Maybe he's not trying to locate the corners as much. He's just going out there and trying to pick up strikeouts where he can and just kind of manage the game a little bit. I definitely like that where the pitchers aren't pressing on the mound. So Zach Wheeler for me. Charlie Morton is interesting. The only reason I say he's interesting is I get it, right? These Reds have been scoring a ton of runs. It's Great American Small Park. It's 90 degrees, humid in Cincy. But the Braves should have run support behind Morton. And this lineup for the Reds that they rolled out does strike out at a 27% clip against righties at home. You got Joey Votto. There is no Jonathan India in the lineup today. That's one thing to call out, too, for the Reds. So no Jonathan India in there. You got Joey Votto in his 7 plate appearances, still striking out at a 33% clip. Will Benson, 40% clip. That's in 37 plate appearances. Tyler Stevenson, right around 30%, and same thing with Senzo. So the back half of that lineup, all strikes out nearly over 30%. So I do think Charlie Morton I'm seeing sub 10% ownership in this range compared, because I really don't like Corbin Burns today. I don't like Eovaldi or Cole at the top. So, we're going to talk on Glass now in the next segment, in the next bracket, right? He's going to get a ton of ownership here, probably for a good reason. But if you're looking for pivots off of Glass now, $400 more, you can go up to Charlie Morton. I get it. It's a tough, but he's got a good projection over here. This lineup does strike out. He has good stuff. He should have run support behind him. So obviously in this range, I'm going Zach Wheeler number 2. I'm going Charlie Morton number 3. And then I'm probably out on the rest of this range, to be honest. If I had to pick one more guy, it would be probably Eovaldi, just because it's either Eovaldi or Cole, but preferably I'm just going Wheeler and Morton in this range. Burns, this lineup strikes out 17% of the time against righties at home, this Cleveland lineup that they rolled out. So I'm not going to do that, especially with Burns. His projection is not very good. He's not getting any ownership. So if you wanted to go to him, you can at $200 more than the chalk pitcher on the slate, which we'll talk about next. So let's do that. Let's jump into the next range here. We got Tyler Glass. Now let's go 7,700 and above. So it's got Savali, Bailey Ober in there. Obviously, he's not on the DraftKings slate, but he is on the FanDuel slate. George Kirby, Yuri Perez, and Glass. Now I'm seeing Yuri Perez and Glass now is probably the 2 highest owned pitchers on the slate. Yuri Perez probably right around 25 to 30%. Glass now anywhere from 45 to 55%. I'm seeing, depending at just 8,900 against this woeful Kansas City team, who did stick it to him yesterday, scored some runs, but man, 32% K rate against righties on the road this season. So touch on that and any other interest you have in these guys.
Yeah, so let's just touch on Bailey Ober real quick for the folks out there playing FanDuel. Gets a great matchup in the Tigers, but just looking at Bailey's metrics, they don't grade out very well against this Tigers team. So no real interest in Bailey if you're playing over there on FanDuel. Let's talk Tyler Glass now for a little bit. We talked a little bit before the show, 8.5 K prop against this woeful Royals offense. Number one K matchup on the slate today. But if you look at Tyler Glasnow, this is not the Tyler Glasnow that we've come to see, since he got back from TJ surgery this year. He struggled a little bit. I mean, he even struggled at Oakland a few weeks back. Now he comes home, gets this Royals team that does strike out a bunch. But if you look at the lefties, I mean, lefties have just been tattooing the ball versus Glasnow this year. So I have a little bit of interest in some of these maybe one-off Royals bats. And at 50% ownership in GPPs, I think it's an easy pivot to either A, get up to Corbin Burns for $200 more dollars, or B, go down to Yuri Perez if you don't have the cap to get to Burns. So that's an easy fade for me in GPPs. Cash, I think you got to lock Glasnow in, but GPPs, I'm certainly getting away from Glasnow as fast as I can. And then the other folks in this range, Yuri Perez, I mean, Pittsburgh's really struggling. We talked about it last Sunday, how they've kind of come back down to earth, not the same Pirates team that they were in the beginning of the year. He has some upside there. I could probably find some other pitchers, though, in the lower tier not to play him. George Kirby scares me a little bit just with that weather in Baltimore. It's extremely hot there, very humid. And I like the bats more than him. And then Savale, not touching Savale. He scares me. Doesn't throw hard enough. So I won't be getting to Savale.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. The Glasnow thing is interesting. So I was just digging into Glasnow a little bit. Probably 40 to 50% owned for a guy that is not bulletproof by any means. I mean, number one, we know what the Rays do, right? They don't give these guys super leash, especially considering their standing position, right? The Rays are definitely playing for bigger hopes than just regular season, kind of good records and stuff like that in regular season. They're obviously have the goal like many do, right? For World Series, and they need Glasnow in that rotation, and he has injury concerns. So are they really going to run him out there for 100 plus pitches against this Kansas City team? He has struggled with walks. I mean, he's only gone past 5 innings once this season. Kansas City was working the counts yesterday. I mean, 9, 8, 10 pitch at bats, right? Against, I forgot his name, but I was watching that game yesterday. It was the cheap guy. I think he was like 6,100. Yes, Chirinos. And he did have, he was like 12% owned or something because he was cheap against this Kansas City team. And the more I watched, I mean, yeah, he started cruising a little bit, got some strikeouts, but Kansas City just started being more patient, right? Started watching pitches, following pitches off, and then eventually got to him. So it's just, I mean, he's not going to have a super long leash compared to some of these guys. Does he have the K upside? Absolutely. I mean, he's got the biggest K prop on the slate for a reason, right? This Kansas City team does strike out at a 33% clip. So he does have strikeout upside. It's more an ownership thing with me. If he starts walking guys, pitch count concern comes into play. The Rays, I think the Rays get to lynch a little bit here as well. So they could really easily just jump to that bullpen. So in GPPs, I think Glasnow I'm out on, but cash games, that's definitely your starting point. I'm sure he's in Hoops Cash Core on the site. Overall, definitely he's going to be a cash staple for sure. I do like Yuri Perez quite a bit. Looking at this Pittsburgh lineup, Pittsburgh has fallen off the cliff a little bit since they kind of went on that tear. I mean, they got Nick Gonzalez in the lineup, Henry Davis, the young stud prospect. He's got some power, but haven't really seen a ton of sample from him. He does have some K strikeout issues there. Jack Sawinski strikes out at a 32% clip against righties on the road. Jason DeLay down there at the bottom strikes out over 30%. So I think Yuri Perez, I mean, he's got a 28% strikeout rate on the year. Limits hard contact to an extent, pretty good expected ERA numbers as well. So I do like Yuri Perez quite a bit. He is going to be owned, but I'm not going to pair him with Glasnow. So that's different enough, right? So I do like Yuri Perez. I saw a question on Bailey Ober. Bailey Ober is not on the DraftKings slate. He is on FanDuel. I don't know what his price is, $9,700 on FanDuel. I think that's a little steep on this slate with these pitching options. But Hamwich definitely, I know he brought up that he doesn't have interest in Ober on FanDuel over there. But yeah, DraftKings do not play Bailey Ober or Lorenzen or any of these players because you will not get points for them because they did move the slate off of the DraftKings slate. So it's actually a 9-game DraftKings slate overall today. Savale against Milwaukee. We just saw Milwaukee struggle yesterday. I keep drawing a blank on these guys' names, but he was in my core. The Cleveland pitcher yesterday got the job done against these Brewers. I think Savale could do it. I'm just not a huge Savale guy overall. He does have a pretty healthy projection, seeing not a ton of ownership. So I do think he's definitely a viable option in that range. George Kirby at Baltimore is interesting. Again, good weather there. But Baltimore just 20% K rate on the season overall. So I like some of these cheaper guys that will hit into the next range. But for me in this range, it's definitely Yuri Perez number one. And then I would probably go Savale number 2 just for the matchup. I'm not scared of the Brewers. I know you like some of these Brewers bats a little bit, but if I had to pick 2, that's where my rankings would be. What's your rankings in this range?
Yeah, very similar. I mean, I would go. If we're just ranking them, Glasnow's got to be number 1 just because of the upside there. But I would fade in GPPs overall. Yuri Perez would be 2. I would say Kirby 3 and Savale 4. I'm just not a believer in Savale and don't mind picking on him with 1 or 2 offs that we'll talk about when we get to the bats.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, perfect. That's the kind of the mid and upper range. Let's jump into the remaining pitchers on the slate. We got Dylan Cease is not. I think Tanner Beeks, right, is opening or starting. Yeah, for Chicago. So not sure what's going on there. But we got Kikuchi, got Daniel Lynch, we got Oviedo against Miami, Kyle Bradish, Cutter Crawford down here against the White Sox. And Cookie Carrasco, Medina, not a ton of interest down here overall, but a couple of these guys do stand out to me a little bit. I am seeing Kikuchi getting about 30% ownership-ish. Again, he obviously gets the Oakland matchup, right? Pretty healthy projection, and it's the Athletics, right, at the end of the day. So that's why he's getting some ownership. But, man, at the same time, it is Kikuchi. We've seen this drill before, right, with Kikuchi. He's either really good or absolutely gets destroyed. And these Oakland, these Athletics, right, have been pesky as of late for sure. Kind of ruining pitchers' days pretty early in the games here. So hit on the rest of these guys. Any interest you have down here in the lower SP2 range for DraftKings?
Yeah, I'm going to start with my favorite low price pitcher, and it's Johan Oviedo. I played him last time he went out against the Cubs, so certainly going to play him in Miami in this pitcher's park against this watered down Marlins lineup. I got great news this morning when I saw Jorge Soler is not in the lineup, which just boosts his overall numbers, in my opinion. We really got Luis Ariz, or however you say his name, batting leadoff. And other than that, I think I think he can navigate this Marlins lineup and get some Ks, get the quality start equity on FanDuel, and then get the win equity as well. So really high on Johan Oviedo. If the weather wasn't like it was, Cutter Crawford. We love Cutter Crawford over here at SHIPIT Nation. He's high in our starting pitcher rankings today. That weather does scare me a little bit, but Cutter Crawford has been pitching close to 100 pitches. We saw what's happened all weekend. They got to Paxton a little bit yesterday, scored 5 runs, but Bello on Friday night was in cruise control for the whole game. So like Cutter Crawford, and then you mentioned it. Kikuchi is. I actually like Kikuchi as a pitcher. I don't think the Blue Jays as an organization do, and they seem to yank him at moment's notice, right? And he doesn't have a very long leash. But anytime you're facing Oakland Athletics, I think you always got to take a look at him. He does have K upside. This Oakland A's lineup is a AAA roster that they're rolling out there. So those are the 3 main guys that I have interest in, and then the rest of the guys actually want to stack against when we start talking about stacks, or who the guys I want to stack against.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different. I'm in lockstep with you on Oviedo. I cored him last time. He might make my core again here. I just continue to pick on this Miami team, especially without Soler. Luis Arias, again, like you said, the leadoff hitter there. Pretty much the only guy I'm scared of in this lineup. And at just 6,300, I'm seeing right around 10% ownership on him. I love that play overall. Cutter Crawford, I am going to be on the Cutter Crawford train again. 5,700 is just too cheap for his strikeout upside that he has in this lineup. I get, right, the weather's good, but hey, they need to make contact and put the ball in play for the weather to really matter too much. I think Cutter can work his stuff there, and 5,700 is just more of a price point play with strikeout upside, which he has. So I do like Cutter Crawford, and then the other guy right there. I kind of like those three guys right in the middle there. I do like Kyle Bradish a little bit here. I get it, right? It is in Baltimore. Seattle does get a park upgrade here, but they still 25% strikeout rate against righties on the road this season. Bradish right around 22% K rate, barrel rate under 8%. 6,100, I think he has K upside in this matchup against these Mariners. I mean, the middle of that lineup, all strikeout over 30% clip. Yeah, I get it, right? They have power. Mike Ford is come out of nowhere, and he must be on the juice or something because he's launching bombs, hit a double dong yesterday. But they still 30% K rate. So it's just strikeout upside when you're looking for cheap guys like this. And I think all three of these guys have strikeout upside especially at the price tag. So allows you to spend up for bats, which we got a lot of good weather, got a lot of expensive bats. Obviously the Braves are a talking point. The Phillies are expensive in a good spot. You name it, up and down this slate, there is expensive bats. So I do like these three guys at the bottom. That's going to kind of round out the pitching for us. Again, if you guys are new, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I see about 170 watching, only 37 likes in here. If we do get to 120 likes, we will give away our top 2 ranked pitchers and top 2 ranked hitters over here on SHIPITNation.com. Been absolutely printing with our proprietary ranking system over here. When you take into account all the StatCast data and all that in the back end, and we'll definitely give that away. 125 likes is the number to get to. And I see my guy Eric Johnson always in here. We appreciate you, Eric, tuning in. And I feel like every time I say something, he's on the other side. But hey, we like that. It is what it is. Everyone has their own opinions, and may the best man win kind of thing today. But let's go game by game. Let's start with the FanDuel game, the Minnesota Twins, the Tigers. This game does lock in about an hour. So FanDuel slate does lock in about 58 minutes. So keep an eye on that if you are playing FanDuel. Minnesota heading into Detroit. We got Bailey Ober, Lorenzen on the mound. Not a ton of interest overall on here. I'm not playing FanDuel today, but how much do you have interest in this one over on FanDuel?
Yeah, no interest in the Twins. I mean, I'm still gun shy after what they did on Thursday, pitch inning in the second inning, which was just ridiculous. No Byron Buxton in the lineup today, which always waters down that lineup a little bit. But with the pinch hit risk, and no Buxton, I'm off on the Twins. And I talked about Bailey Ober a little bit on the other side. So no real interest in Bailey Ober but when I look at these Tigers, I don't have any interest in them per se, but one guy that does stand out a little bit is Nick Matone. He does profile well versus Bailey Ober. So if I was desperate and needed some salary savings and needed a one-off, I would play Nick Matone at 2.3K. He's second base and third base eligible on FanDuel. But other than that, that'd be the only guy that I really have interest in.
Yeah, I'm with you. Not a ton of interest in this game. Obviously, I'm not playing over there. DraftKings do not play this game. They are all red, I believe, on DraftKings, so it does give you a warning that none of their scores will count because it did jump the slate starts time. Next game on the slate, we got the pitchers duel, right? The 2 most expensive pitchers on the slate. Yankee Stadium, we got the Rangers heading into Yankee Stadium, face Garrett Cole, Eovaldi on the mound. I know you talked about some of these Rangers a little bit. In particular, I'm looking at Marcus Semien a little bit. He is expensive, but bat leadoff there. Has some power to do it. Just going to put the ball in play. Doesn't strike out a ton. And Garrett Cole does have some home run issues. Billy McKinley continues to just rake the ball. I mean, he continues to just crush the baseball. He's just 2,400 still on DraftKings, outfield eligibility, 2,800 on FanDuel. And in his 22 plate appearances in Yankee Stadium, expected ISO 554. So touch on Billy McKinley is a nice value there. I feel like I get a home run alert from him every time he's on the slate. And then any of these Rangers you have interest in against Mr. Garrett Cole.
Yeah, let's start on the Rangers side and not going to stack the Rangers, but you alluded to it. Marcus Semien. I really like Marcus Semien. I'm playing 2 teams in the queue today. I'm going to do a 4-3-1 and have him as one of my one-offs. He profiles really well versus Cole. Cole's 2 main pitches, 97-mile-an-hour fastball and a slider. Simeon's missing that pitch. Simeon's missing the fastball. about 4% of the time. He's got a ton of power. Cole gives up power. So really like Marcus Semien. No real interest in the Rangers. But I wouldn't think it, if you're 150 max, and I wouldn't mind having, 5 teams of the Rangers just because they do have tons of power up and down that lineup. Ezekiel Duran has power at the 8 hole. Tavares has power in the 9 hole. But for me, only playing 2 teams today on FanDuel, Marcus Semien's the only one I like. And I'm not getting to any of these Yankees. I know Billy McKinney. We love him over here at SHIPIT Nation. He does homer every day. He's turning in Aaron Judge 2.0, but I'm not going to get there. Not against Evaldi, not today, but I could certainly understand if you wanted to get in some McKinney or any of these other Yankees as leverage off Evaldi, but I'm out on the Yankees.
Yeah, I actually don't like this game too much. I just hope it plays more pitcher. I get it, right? 90 degrees, wind blowing out to left field. So you could see some home runs come from here. So I wouldn't mind like mini stacks or one-off home run hunting just because of the weather, right? Especially I would prefer more on the Rangers side, guaranteed 9th inning at bats. Cole does have some home run issues that he does give up. And Cole's kind of a diva anyways. If he doesn't have his stuff, he really doesn't have his stuff out there. It kind of collapses a little bit. So these Rangers do have power 1 through 9. I think any of them are pretty much in play. My favorites would definitely be the top guys there: Corey Seager, Semien, Adolis Garcia, and Josh Young are definitely my preference. But Mr. Zeke Duran down there in the 8 hole, second base, shortstop, outfield eligibility now. DraftKings finally went from having no eligibility for him outside of shortstop, so you had to make a choice between Seager, and then now just giving him every position on the roster you can play him at. So that's nice to see. 3,100. He's got power and speed combination there. Leody Tavares has been playing good baseball. I'm going to put the ball in play down there too. 3,200 at the outfield. Nice little value guy there. On the Yankee side, I get it, right? All the BVP guys in the chat. Yankees have good VVP against Eovaldi here. But this is a different Eovaldi, I think, of years past overall, where a lot of that BVP has come from. But if you want to home run hunt, yeah, you can always home run hunt some guys like Stanton, Rizzo, Gleyber Torres, Jake Bowers has good numbers against righties at home. And Bowers is just 2,700 and Billy McKinney just 2,400. So 2 value guys there that have power. Wouldn't hate either one of those guys, but overall not a ton of interest in this game for me. Next game on the slate, we have Seattle heading into Baltimore to face the Orioles. And I see it, right? I see it in the chat. Seattle starting been scoring some runs, right? But now I do think Kyle Bradish is probably the best pitcher that they've faced so far, at least in my opinion. I do think Kyle Bradish has some good stuff. He's been good. But 85 degrees, 90 degrees by the end of the game, wind blowing out about 5-6 miles an hour. Is good hitting weather, very good hitting weather, kind of the nature of the slate overall. 4.5 implied run total for the Mariners, 4.2, give or take, for the Orioles against George Kirby. Do you have interest in this game? How much?
Minimal interest. I know you're bullish on Bradish, and I like the way that rhymed too. But the 2-3-4 for the Mariners, I think you could play. If you wanted to get different, Julio Rodriguez, Ty France, and Teoscar Hernandez with the projected 2-3-4. Now, I have not checked the lineup to see if that's what it is, but I'm okay with playing any of those guys. Righty. You're naturally going to get less ownership, so fine playing those 3 on the Seattle side. I don't mind, and then Kirby has really struggled to strike out lefties of this year. So I wouldn't be opposed to playing some of the lefties if you wanted to get to the Orioles. Mullins is back in the lineup, or he was last night anyway. Rutschman has been having a tremendous year, in my opinion. Santander hit another bomb yesterday. Gavin Henderson, who has been batting leadoff, is not batting leadoff anymore with Mullins back. But all those lefties, all that power, you alluded to the wind blowing out. I don't mind this. I want to dig deeper into Kirby, kind of see what that ownership percentage is. And, if it's 25, 30%, I think you can get some leverage off that and play these Orioles bats that no one's really going to play, not on a 9-game slate, 9/10 game slate, depending on where you play. But give me some lefty power on the O's, and then that 2-3-4 for the M's in my player pool for sure.
Yeah, I mean, let me look. I'm seeing on George Kirby, I'm seeing about 5 to 10%, and same thing. Bradish is about 10 to 15%, give or take. But I was looking into Bradish's pitches. He throws the slider about 35% of the time to both sides of the plate combined. And these Mariners against the slider strike out nearly 40%. So I think at his price tag, he's got incredible upside overall. I mean, his next best pitch that he throws is the fastball sinker and a curveball. And I mean, they do hit up and down this lineup, don't strike out really against the fastball sinker. So definitely, obviously, Bradish is probably going to know that to a pretty good extent and might limit that overall. But I mean, curveball, they strike out over 35%, his second most used pitch. So I just think the K upside here for Bradish is there against these Mariners. I get it, right? They started hitting the ball, but I mean, he's just 6,100 on DraftKings with K upside like that. I'm going to take my chances. So I do like Kyle Bradish quite a bit at his salary. Overall, I mean, the Mariners, yeah, you can always pick out guys with home run upside. Jared Kelenic, Hernandez, Ty France has been hitting a little bit. Julio Rodriguez is starting to come around. JP Crawford just hit a bomb yesterday, day before. He's starting to hit pretty well. Mike Ford brought that up, but just know it's pretty boomer bust with these guys overall because they do strike out at a pretty high clip against right-handed pitching. So that's kind of the reason. So I'm not really stacking these Mariners. I'll be off the train. If Eric stacks them up, Eric's going to win all the money in chat, and that'll be fine with me. I'll take my losses and move on with the $6,100 Kyle Bradish. On the Orioles side, for me, really Gunnar Henderson, Ryan O'Hearn, Austin Hayes have the best numbers from what I'm seeing. I didn't look too much into the pitch profile for them against George Kirby, but I just on a 10-game slate, 9-game slate, I don't know if George Kirby is really a guy I want to pick on with the offenses that we do have on this slate overall. So not a ton of interest, but yeah, absolutely. I think you can pull a mini stack of these Baltimore Orioles out or some home run power upside from these Mariners against Kyle Bradish. Next game on the slate, we got one of my favorite stacks of the evening or the day here for Sunday. It's the Phillies getting Mr. Cookie Carrasco and Ham. Feel like it's a deja vu every time we're on the slate. Mr. Cookie's on the mound, and we're typically on the other side of the fence from him, loading the lineups up with guys against him. I don't think it changes here today. Carrasco, we know his drill. I think he gets sent down for a little stint here pretty soon after the Phillies hopefully mop him up today. Hit on this one. Any of these Mets against Mr. Zach Wheeler, I know we both had interest in him. And then obviously these Phillies don't have the greatest numbers looking on paper, but man, it's Carrasco. We know what he does. Low strikeouts. Expected ERA very high, gets barreled pretty good. And you got guys like Trey Turner in there. Castellanos hit a bomb yesterday. Bryce Harper, Real Muto. Overall, this lineup is pretty solid, 1 through 9 for these Phillies.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, Cookie Carrasco is not any good anymore. Striking out both sides of the plate, 15% over the last 30 days. I mean, it's easy to pick on him. They're a great pairing if you wanted to pair them with the Braves today. The two that stand out to me, Bryce Harper, Nick Castellanos, no surprise there. Castellanos, did go yard yesterday. So hopefully he can get another bomb for us today. And then, find you two other Phillies or one other Philly and pair him with Simeon and then 4 stack the Braves and boom, there you go. You got a solid team on FanDuel right there. But really like the Phillies today. They're going to catch some ownership on both sides, just with the nature of who they're facing. So you got to find a way to get different somewhere with that Philly stack. And then no Mets for us. We talked about really liking Wheeler. There's Wheeler's striking out 37% of the folks from the right-handed side, and that's where outside of Lindor, I mean the most dangerous bats on the Mets side are righties. So don't give me any Mets and load up the Phillies. Looking at this lineup, I'm going to say 1 through. I'm not a Marsh or Clemens guy, so give me 1 through 7 on the Phillies, or you could stack up.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. One note: Trey Turner has absolutely owned Carrasco. Hasn't hit a home run, but he is. He's hitting 546 with 3 doubles, 6 for 11 overall, 3 doubles, 3 singles, 0 strikeouts in 11 plate appearances. So for the Trey Turner haters out there, that Trey Turner has been definitely a little disappointing on the year overall. But I know he helped ship our guy Hoop 50 stacks over here on DraftKings. So maybe it's Trey Turner day again, because he profiles pretty well against Carrasco as well, batting second there right before Castellanos. I think 1 through 9 you can play these guys. I don't love Brandon Marsh a ton, but Edmundo Sosa down there, for what it's worth, 1 for 3 with a home run against Carrasco. Obviously, always got to throw a little BVP in there for the BVPers in the chat. So if you want to play him in the 9-hole, 2,300 third base, definitely has some power there. Alec Boehm obviously always has some power. Overall, I do like these Phillies quite a bit. 5-man stack, 3-man stack. On the Mets side, maybe if you want to pull a one-off like Pete Alonso, Tommy Pham, just home run hunting against Zach Wheeler. Definitely not my preference. Definitely not something that I might do, but every slate, Pete Alonso's on the slate. You definitely can bring his name up. Just incredible power there out of him. Overall, not a ton of interest, though, for me on the Mets. Do like the Phillies quite a bit. Next game on the slate here, we got Oakland headed into Toronto. And we talked about it. Kikuchi, probably about 30% owned here against the Athletics. And I know you like him a little bit, but, man, these Athletics just been pesky overall. I mean, Carlos Perez there, batting 2, has pretty good power numbers in his sample size against lefties. Pretty low strikeout rate. Brent Rooker is a lefty smasher there in the 3-hole. You got Shea Langeliers batting up in the lineup now today against the lefty because he hits lefties pretty well. Do you like any of these Athletics against a guy like Kikuchi who can blow up on any turn? And then any of these Blue Jays against Mr. Medina and this Oakland terrible bullpen behind him?
Yeah, Funky Cole Medina is going to get blown up today. Luis just doesn't have what it takes. So load up all these Blue Jays, Bichette, Chapman, Guerrero, Springer, you name it. Again, 1 through 7 in the Blue Jays, I'm okay with playing. Terrible A's bullpen. Medina's no good as well. These Blue Jays profile extremely well versus Medina. So I'm all over the Blue Jays. They're one of my top 3 stacks for sure. And then these Oakland A's are interested. I see some people in the chat, are saying they like the A's, and you mentioned it. I mean, you're getting Ruiz at the top that's got 40 steals on the season, which, if he gets on base, he's going to turn a single or walk into a double, which is 9 points real quick. And if they can find a way to manufacture and get him home, I mean, he's already sitting at 12. And then, Perez batting in the 2nd hole. One of the things that I like to do is, anytime a guy that normally doesn't bat that high in the order, so he's typically batting 6th or 7th in the order, and today he's batting 2nd. I mean, that raises his floor and his ceiling tremendously. So I do have a little bit more interest in Perez with him batting in the 2-hole. I just like that he's batting four spots higher. He's going to get more turns in the at bat. So I do like a little bit of Perez. I mean, Rooker, you said it. He's a lefty smasher. He could go yards. So, I mean, just talking through it, Nades, all these righties up front in the front of the lineup, I mean, I could see playing, a little mini stack on DK and even full stacking it on FanDuel because Kikuchi's going to be owned. Oakland's going to be, I would say, sub, 10% per batter. If they get 80 points and knock Kikuchi out in the 4th inning, I mean, you're sitting pretty. So they're not my favorite stack. The A's aren't, but I could see, I wouldn't hate it if you did want to get to the A's.
Yeah, one thing to note too, Rogers Center is opening the roof there today in Toronto. So that is a little bit of a boost there as well. I'm seeing about 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left field, about 78, 79 degrees throughout game time. So, hey, ball should be flying there. They did bring the field. They did bring the fences bit over in right center over there as well. I don't hate it, to be honest with you. I'm not going to play Kikuchi here, especially with him getting ownership. And these Athletics, I mean, you named it. Esteury Ruiz at the top is just, I mean, the dude's going to break the stolen base record probably throughout the rest of the season. I mean, 40 stolen bases already at this point in the season is just absurd. So he's good. And look at these price tags on these Athletics. I mean, you talk about the Braves, right, which is a huge talking point on the slate. Braves are an incredible matchup, incredible ballpark, guaranteed 9th inning at bats, everything like that. But they are expensive. You need cheap guys, especially if you want to play those top end arms on the slate. And these Athletics, everyone on this lineup outside of Rooker and Ruiz are all under 3K. most of them are all right near stone minimum on DraftKings pricing. Same thing on FanDuel. So they are very affordable. Guaranteed ninth inning at bats. Roof is open, and it's Mr. Kikuchi, who is not bulletproof by any means over there. So I do like those quite a bit. On the Blue Jays side, man, this is a good spot for the Blue Jays. I'm seeing them actually projected higher owned as a stack than Atlanta, which is kind of crazy to me overall. They're going to contest Atlanta for the highest owned stack on the slate. Again, it's Medina right on the mound. Oakland A's bullpen behind them. Roof is open in Toronto. But I just have not been a Blue Jays guy all season. The one time I did stack them up, they were very hurtful. But Kevin Biggio, Matt Chapman, I think is a fine little mini stack there. Chapman continues to just smash the baseball. I like him. 5K though at third base is a little pricey. Got to make a choice between him, Austin Riley, Jose Ramirez, some of these other elite third basemen on the slate. Bo Bichette is playing good baseball right now. Don't mind him. Vlad Guerrero obviously always has the power, but I mean overall, the back half of this lineup for the Blue Jays is pretty weak with Espino, Kevin Kiermaier, and Tyler Heineman. So don't love it, but I definitely do think they're in a pretty good spot, but they are going to get quite a bit of ownership. If I had to choose one, I would just go to the Braves at pretty similar ownership, to be honest with you, in a much better park, guaranteed ninth inning at bats than these Blue Jays. But again, I haven't been a Blue Jays guy all year. So if the Blue Jays win today, hopefully my guy Hamwich is shipping all the money, and whoever else in the chat does follow him as well. So overall, not a ton of interest on the Blue Jays personally for myself. Next game on the slate here, we have the Royals heading into Tampa to face Glasnow. Obviously a good pitcher's park here for Glasnow. Getting these Royals 32% K rate. I get it, right? They just scored, 8, 9, 10 runs yesterday in kind of a weird setup. The Rays were very hurtful. I 5-stacked the Rays against Mr. Jordan Lyles yesterday. Scored 4 quick runs in the first 2 innings, and then just hit the brakes and just fell off a cliff the rest of the game and ended up getting beat overall. So the Rays, they do have a 5.76 implied run total here against Mr. Lynch at home against a lefty. Lynch under 18% strikeout rate. Any of these Rays interest you interested in going right back? I mean, Jose Siri batting 9, but man, he does smash lefties. Overall, they got some guys throughout this lineup for these Rays that do smash lefties, and typically the Rays do hit home runs. I get it; it's not the greatest park on the slate for weather, being in Tampa there in the dome for hitting, but the Rays are always in play personally for me. Do you have any interest in here? And then Royals, probably a pretty easy cross-off spot against Glasnow personally, but I know you mentioned Melendez, some of these lefties a little bit, so touch on that.
Yeah. So let me just start on the Royals side because it'll be the quickest, but two Royals that I have interest in, and I got to play a Royal. I'm wearing my Royal shirt today, so I got to have at least one Royal in my lineup. But Bobby Witt, batting second against Glasnow, righty, sub 5% ownership. Just look at the shortstops: Ellie Dela Cruz, Corey Seager, Wander Franco, Bo Bichette, Matt McClain, Francisco Lindor. Nobody's going to play Bobby Witt today. Just looking at the way he hits 97-mile-an-hour fastballs, which is Glasnow's favorite pitch. Bobby Witt tattoos those. If he can square one up, it's going over the fence. I really like Bobby Witt today. I know he's not a lefty, but Bobby Witt at sub 5% ownership as a one-off. Yeah, I'm all in on something like that. And then the only other one that I would have any interest in would be MJ Melendez. Does profile very well versus him, Glasnow. So, if you wanted to do a one-off for either one of those, or even do a 5-2-1, on DK, I have no problem with that. And then we got to go right back to the Rays today. I think Tidal dubbed him Dusty Daniel Lynch, or someone dubbed him Dusty Daniel Lynch, and that's appropriate for Daniel Lynch. He is as cheeks, as Tidal would say as well. And these righties for the Rays are going to get to him. So I like any righty in this lineup. I don't mind the lefties as well because why? Because Daniel Lynch won't be in there very long, and they're obviously going to start bringing in some righties out of the bullpen. So that lefty-lefty matchup quickly turns, to a righty-lefty matchup for us. So I don't mind stacking 1 through 9. I mean, we even saw the 9-hitter yesterday for the Rays, which nobody played. He was literally 0% ownership in the queue, but he scored over 25 points, stole 2 bases. I don't know if he's in there today. I haven't seen the lineup, but if he is, give me him again at very low ownership. But I'm all in on these Rays in terms of liking them, and they'll be on one of my two teams in the FanDuel queue for sure.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to note too in the chat, I did see it. Yeah, Glasnow does give up stolen bases. That just goes into Bobby Witt's turn. Bobby Witt, 22 stolen bases on the year. Michael Garcia there has 10 stolen bases on the year. Olivares, Melendez both have. I mean, Melendez has 4. Olivares has 7. The cheap Blanco kid can run. Only 1 stolen base on the year, but he'll run. Samad Taylor will run there too. So do have a little bit of stolen base upside too. So the nice thing too is Glasnow does struggle with walks. So I mean, these guys walk, get on base. Bobby Witt's definitely swiping second, possibly even swiping third. So that's a little bit of baked in upside there too if he does get on base. Yeah, Corey, I know Blanco crushed in AAA in terms of stolen bases overall. I see Sean V in the chat. Sean, what's going on, my man? It just said Lynch went 7 scoreless in Detroit. Well, let me tell you something. Detroit Tigers are a different offense than the Tampa Bay Rays. So that's one thing to note there. You can't be game log oriented in DFS. I will say that right away. There is a thing is matchups, and this is definitely a different matchup for Mr. Lynch heading into Tampa to face these Rays. I think 1 through 9 can play. They did load the lineup with 9 righties. Obviously, 2 switch hitters in there, Wander Franco and Taylor Walls. I have to assume they're hitting from the right side of the plate here while Lynch is in there. We'll likely switch once a righty comes in. So 9 right-handed batters against Mr. Lynch here. Definitely bodes for some success, hopefully, for the Rays. I do like the Rays quite a bit, jumping right back on the wagon. And I wouldn't hate some of these Royals against the chalkiest pitcher on the slate. That's just kind of how I play baseball. We see it happen all the time. And, hey, let's call it out for what it is, Hamwich. It is Sunday. Weird crap does happen in some Sunday MLB. We've seen it all year long. So the Royals might do it again, but definitely not loading the wagon to stack the Royals up. Let's talk about it. The next most popular game on the slate, I would say, highest total overall. The Braves run total, implied run total approaching 7, which is ridiculous. The Reds on the other side approaching 5. We got Charlie Morton, which I did have a little bit of interest in just at his ownership discount, his upside that I do think he has for strikeouts with some of these Reds batters. So I think it's a kind of a situation where Morton can manage a little bit, post a decent score, should have run support behind him, but hit on these Rays because, man, 1 through 9, their usual lineup rolled out there with Sean Murphy. D'Arnaud is not in the lineup, but Mr. Sean Murphy slides in. Pretty good replacement there for TDA. 1 through 9, I think these Braves are firmly in play, much like everyone's going to look at. So hit on those guys, what you're going to do with them, how you're going to build your rosters around those guys, and then any of these Reds that you do have interest in as well.
Yeah, and honestly, Sean Murphy would be the only Brave that I do not have interest in. And reason being is this is his first game back from the IL. He had some soft tissue issues with his hamstring. So any tweak of that, I know he's pinch hit a couple times over the last few days, but this is his first full game back behind the plate. They obviously think he's healthy enough to play, but for me, I'm not going to play him just based on that fact. I think there's better Braves to play. So no Sean Murphy for me, but yeah, everybody else. I mean, Matt Olson profiles well. If you go look at their props to hit home runs today, I mean, it's some numbers that I don't ever see, right? I mean, I think Matt Olson's like plus 210 to hit a home run. I mean, they're all in the 200s, which normally for those that that don't wager, it's typically 350 plus to hit a home run. Getting into the 400 range or 4 to 1. So these Braves are you got to play them. Well, you don't have to play them, I should say, but if you're playing 1 or 2 teams, I think you have to play them on one. If you're playing, obviously, multiple, you can fade him on some. But the matchup, this pitcher, Levi Stroud, he might be working at Levi Strauss when he gets done with this game because the Braves are going to absolutely annihilate him. We saw it yesterday. They just hit bombs. The weather, this park. Load them up. Load the Braves up is all I can say. And Nades, you always say it. It is baseball. Crazy things happen. I would be very shocked if this guy can get him out. I mean, I looked at his AAA numbers this morning. He was terrible in AAA. He's terrible in the 2 times he's pitched this year in the majors. fastball slider pitcher. Anyway, load up on the Braves. And then on the other side, and we didn't say it, Charlie Morton striking out 38% of left-handed batters. And the Reds are rolling out 5 today. You said Will Benson, 40% clip. I think you said Votto's come back at a 30-some-odd% clip. So I guess to my point, Nades, is that, yeah, Charlie Morton does look really well there. I mean, you can always play Ella Daily Cycle, who hit for the cycle on Friday night. I mean, he's a stud as a one-off. But for the most part, I'll be off the Reds outside of Ella De La Cruz and all over these Braves today.
Yeah, the reason for Morton is I'm looking at his projection, right? He's $400 more than Glasnow. His projection's in line with Glasnow, and his ownership is, a fraction, sub 10%, probably 7-8%-ish, whereas Glasnow will be pushing 50% plus. And where I play Charlie Morton is in low-owned spots. Everyone sees what these Reds have been doing, but I'm looking at their strikeout numbers against righties at home, and it's a pretty good sample size. Some of these guys, 98 at-bats, 90 at-bats, 91 at-bats, 77 at-bats, and they're still striking out at a 30% clip. I'll take my chances with Mr. Charlie Morton with run support behind him. So I love these Braves 1 through 9. I do think Sean Murphy, I have a little bit more interest in you than him. He's obviously had some pinch hits. He's going through batting practice. They obviously, I'm sure he's caught some bullpens, and I'm sure that soft tissue, he's got a little bit better treatment than you and I, Hamwich, have overall. So I think he's feeling pretty good there. 268 expected ISO against righties. And this guy rolling out here, Levi Strout, is going to be making some new Levi's in the factory next week after these Braves sent him packing. So 1 through 9 for me. Definitely look at the back half of this lineup too, because typically goes lower owned. Michael Harris, Orlando Arcia. All the Ozzie Albies at the top there, batting second, is absolutely locked in at the plate right now, stealing bases, hitting bombs. Ronald Acuna, we know his drill. 460 expected ISO in 91 plate appearances on the road this year. That's better than Aaron Judge numbers. So that's absolutely absurd. We'll steal bases as well. 6,500, you do have to pay for it. But hey, I like 3 cheap pitchers on this slate, and I'm going to not leave the Braves off my lineups this week like I did last week, and they absolutely sunk my ship. So nice thing too is I'm seeing Toronto getting pretty similar ownership overall for the Braves. Braves will be slightly higher, but I'm much rather just load the wagon on the way in the Braves. Looking at the weather in Great American Small Park, 75, 80 degrees, 14-mile-an-hour winds blowing kind of across the field out to left field a little bit. So, you do that against this pitcher, sign me up. Definitely love those. For the Reds, I do like Charlie Morton. I gave the reasons for it. My only interest really on the Reds would be Ellie De La Stud. I do like him quite a bit, but man, 5,800 DraftKings finally realized, hey, let's price this dude up. If you want to play him, you are paying for him 5,800. He is expensive. Third base, shortstop eligibility. Will steal bases. Obviously has power, hitting triples, hitting doubles, doing what he does out there. But I like Charlie Morton enough, so I'm off the Reds personally overall.
Yeah. Hey, one thing I do want to mention. Sorry, Nades. Just looking at his numbers, Strout's. Righties actually profile better righty versus him. So I have more interest in the righties. Certainly don't leave off Olsen and Albies and Harris and those guys in Rosario, but righties do profile better versus him than lefties. But with that being said, they'll bring in this tax bullpen. So it may, like I said it earlier, it may not matter much, but while Strout's in there, righties typically hit him better than lefties.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got a couple of games left here. I see 207 in the chat, only 88 likes. If we do get to 125 likes, again, we will give our top-ranked pitcher, 2 of them, and our top-ranked hitters, 2 of them, on our proprietary metrics over here that have absolutely crushed. I think who was it? The Boston guy last time. The cheap Boston guy was. I think it might have been Cutter.
Yeah,
I think it was Cutter, and he went out and posted 24 DraftKings points when he was the number 1 ranked pitcher on the slate in some pretty good chalk. And he was definitely needed at his salary. So the pitcher rankings have absolutely printed all year long over here. Same thing with the hitter rankings. Their home run percentage is pretty off the charts overall. So 125 likes, we will give those away for the people. We appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already. But let's talk about the next game. Got the Brewers heading into Cleveland to face Savale. Corbin Burns on the mound. 2 pretty solid pitchers, I would say, to attack. to not attack, right, on a 10-game slate here overall. So I don't personally have a ton of interest in here, but I do know some of these Brewers. Andrew Monasterio didn't crack the lineup again, 2,100 second base shortstop eligibility. Has shown some power when he's gotten the starts. 13 plate appearances, expected ISO right around 300 overall. Christian Yelich continuing to play pretty solid baseball at the top there. Owen Miller's back in there in the 2-hole. Big hoops boy, Rowdy Tellez in the cleanup spot. Hit on any of these Brewers, guaranteed ninth inning at bats against Mr. Savale. Definitely think I have more interest personally on the Brewers side for bats than the Cleveland side. But obviously you got Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor on the other side, two guys that I think you can play any slate from the Guardians. Any interest in this one?
Yeah, the way these Brewers are scuffling at the plate, I mean, you really just want one-offs. I mean, we saw Friday night Willie Adames when Absolute Nuclear led the slate, 2 bombs. I think Christian Yelich is in a similar spot today. Really profiles well versus Savale. I said it earlier, no faith in Savale. So give me Yelich as a one-off for sure. And then if you wanted another one-off, Rowdy Tellez, I guess Hoops Boy. Rowdy Tellez profiles well as well. Tons of power. Savale doesn't give up much power, but, Tellez could hit it off, out of the yard against anybody. So Tellez and Yelich for me would be the only 2 Brewers that I have interest in. And I have a little bit more interest in Burns than I guess most people would. And a lot of that has to do with our proprietary metrics that you talk about all the time, Nades. I'm a huge believer in those metrics. And sometimes metrics are all the time metrics are smarter than I am. And our metrics really like him. And, it takes into consideration, that Guardians K, how little they K. So he's going to be lower owned than those other 4 big dogs that, those 5 at the top. So no interest in the Guardians for me. I said it in my quick hit video yesterday. I mean, you can always play Jose Ramirez as a one-off, but the Guardians play too much small ball for my liking. They slap it, a bunch of slap hitters out there. And so I have a little bit of interest in Burns and then Yelich and then Tellez would be the only interest I have in this game.
Yeah, just pulling up the weather here. 85, 88 degrees by middle of the game. About 6 mile an hour, 8 mile an hour wind blowing straight out to center. Pretty good hitting weather here overall. And I do like some of these Brewers. Christian Yelich, Rowdy Tellez for all the BVP guys that I get it. It's only 3 plate appearances, but he's got a single and a bomb against Mr. Savale. For all you BVP guys out there, always got to hit that. 3,800 is pretty good price tag on Mr. Rowdy. He has been struggling a little bit, but no better spot here. Batting in the cleanup spot, lefty against a righty, and Mr. Savale. Good hitting weather in Cleveland. Think he makes a lot of sense as a one-off, and will definitely be low owned at the first base spot when you got guys like Matt Olson, you got Vlad Guerrero, 2 teams that are getting stacked up a ton on this slate, and it's very hard to leave those 2 guys out of your stacks when you're 5-man in the Braves, 5-man in the Blue Jays overall. Victor Caratini has shown some power at the catcher spot, 2,900. And I already brought up Andrew Monasterio there in the 7-hole second base shortstop eligibility, just 2,100. Does have some power. Mr. Joey Weimer has some power down there. Overall, these Brewers are super cheap outside of Yelich, outside of Adames. Rowdy Tellez is a little expensive, but I mean, the back half of this lineup, middle of this lineup is all under 3K. So I do don't mind them a little bit here in good hitting weather, guaranteed ninth inning at bats. Guardians for me are a pass on Burns. I do need to look into Burns a little bit, but I do think I'd much rather just pivot to Charlie Morton. I'm kind of planting my flag there. Next game on the slate, we got pitcher interest in both of these pitchers. Oviedo, Yuri Perez on the mound. Pirates implied to score under 3 runs. Marlins just at a 4.2 implied run total here. Pretty easy cross-off spot for me for bats. Are you with me here?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not playing any of these guys. I actually built some single entry FanDuel teams, and I had Oviedo on both of my teams. So just the way that the Braves fit into my lineups, I had to get to Oviedo on FanDuel. So tons of interest in Oviedo from a price perspective and an upside perspective as well. With we talked about earlier, no Jorge Soler, so no Marlins for me. If they beat me, they beat me. I'll take my chances with 20 teams. And then no Pirates as well. A little bit of interest in Perez on that side. I probably won't get to him on FanDuel just because it's a one pitcher site. But man, under 3 runs, that's not a lot of runs in a Major League Baseball game. But I'm going to pass on both of those and look to elsewhere for bats.
Yeah, I'm with you. Pretty easy cross-off spot for me. I like both pitchers. We can move on into our last game of the slate. The best weather game, in my opinion, on the entire slate here. See 103 likes. Let's get to 125 before the end, 200 watching or so. Again, hit the subscribe button if you have not already. This is brought to you by SHIPITNation.com. $59 a month, $5.99 for the year does get you access to all of this proprietary information, tools to help build your teams, self-service tools, proprietary projections, everything over here. I mean, we got the core plays, we got the premium Discord where guys like Hofbrau, one of the best minds in the industry, one of the best players in the world, is in there constantly dropping knowledge and stuff in chat. You got access to us in that Discord kind of around the clock. I mean, just an absolutely elite Discord, tilt free for the most part. Overall, I mean, incredible community and nation we have over here. $59 a month, $5.99 for the year. Absolutely absurd price. Absolutely incredible steal. When you think about everything, including MMA, we just brought a new addition to the team over here for best ball, MMA product, and some new NFL content that we will be bringing. Mr. Big Marley coming over from DFS Army, joining the team. Going to work in tandem with Mr. Titletown himself to do MMA shows every week for you guys right here on this channel, including MMA content, everything like that, and best ball. Best ball streets are rocking right now with NFL quickly approaching. No better time to join than now. $59 a month does get you access to that. Let's talk about it. Next game on the slate here. Last game on this main slate. 85 degrees, 17 to 20 mile an hour winds blowing out to left field. We got the Red Sox guaranteed ninth inning at bats against this combination of kind of a bullpen game here for the White Sox. Mr. Cutter Crawford on the mound. We did talk about him quite a bit against these White Sox, but man, this is the best weather game on the entire slate. Pretty significant wind blowing out to left field. Hit on this one. Do you have interest in these Red Sox? 5 implied run total, 4.5, 4.7 implied run total for the White Sox as well, because Vegas does see the weather, does see the wind blowing out. Hit on this one.
Yeah, most of the time when we're talking wind in the Windy City, it's centered around the Cubs. But obviously today we're on the south side and in Chicago on the White Sox. This is wind that you don't see every day, and it should be alarming if you're rostering in these pitchers. I mean, I know we have some interest in Cutter, but I'm going to have interest in both of these bats just with the win, especially, digging into Tanner Banks a little bit. Righties just absolutely crush him. His fastball, sitting around 93 miles an hour. So give me the righties, for these Red Sox. Ref Snyder leading off, Justin Turner, Adam Duvall. I mean, you name it. Like I said, Dahlback is back in the lineup today. So those righties, profile really well. And then when you want to sneak in, Devers and Yoshida, that's never a bad option either. So, there's a lot of sticks on the slate today that really stand out. And these Red Sox, are right up there with them. I'll have a little bit less interest on the White Sox side just because I do have faith in Cutter. But if you wanted to poke holes in Cutter, he doesn't strike out any right-handed hitters. Striking out, under 12% of the right-handed hitters he faced. So, Tim Anderson can't hit anymore, but, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Jake Berger, some of the guys with some pop and power I wouldn't have a problem with. But just with this wind, it's blowing out to left. So, obviously those righties naturally, when they pull the ball, it's going to go, it's going to get up in the air on the left side of the diamond. So give me those 3 righties that I just alluded to for the White Sox, and should be a high scoring game today for sure.
Yeah, I love this game. I love the Boston side in particular. Mr. Bobby Big Stick Dahlbeck back in the lineup. Beeks throws the slider, 30% chance. Hopefully Dahlbeck gets a chance to see him because he's got a 667 ISO against that slider that Mr. Beeks does throw. Rob Refsnyder, 300 ISO. Adam Duvall, 412 ISO against the slider overall. 4-seam fastball, they all hit it very well as well. 1 through 9, there's one guy in red. The rest of them are all in green against his fastball that he does throw at a 41% clip. So I think these Red Sox tee off against Mr. Banks and whoever comes in behind him. I don't know if it's this Schulten's dude or who it is, but sign me up for these Red Sox. Adam Duvall, one of the best bats on the slate, in my opinion here. Rafael Devers. Yoshida, Bobby Dahlbeck, I talked about him, 2,600, third base, shortstop eligible, which is nice. Justin Turner it has been locked in at the plate. Rob Refsnyder there batting leadoff, 2,800. We'll probably get pinch hit for eventually once a righty comes in. But, hey, if he takes Mr. Banks deep first at bat, he pays off that salary. So love these Red Sox. On the White Sox side, I do have interest in Mr. Cutter Crawford quite a bit, actually, at his salary. But, I mean, Andrew Vaughn, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Jake Berger would kind of be my four guys I would look at. Mr. Jake Berger, inevitable, hit a freaking bomb yesterday against the lefty in what's his face? The highest strikeout dude on the slate, right? Yesterday, the expensive Red Sox guy.
Paxton?
Yeah, Paxton. Mr. Berger against lefties is something to take note. But, hey, I think Mr. Berger can do it against Mr. Cutter, too, here in this weather game. Overall, a lot of interest in both sides of this game. Much prefer the Red Sox side because I do have interest in Cutter's K upside throughout this lineup. I mean, they do still strike out. You have Jake Berger still striking out at 30% clip. Robert, Eloy Jimenez both striking out over 25. Zach Remillard down there in the 9-hole striking out over 25% clip. So Cutter, 26 or 25% K rate on the season, 5,700. That upside's too good to pass up. I mean, he's a pretty cheap hitter in this spot on this slate. I mean, you got guys like Acuna, guys like that are much more expensive than Mr. Cutter Crawford, who's going to have strikeout upside overall. So do like him quite a bit. That's going to do it for us. Let's jump into the covetable. Your favorite pitcher overall outside of like the chalk option. Obviously, don't throw out Mr. Glasnow out there. And then your home run call. The people did not get to the 125 likes, so maybe next time we will push that home and give out our proprietary top ranked hitters and pitchers over here. But Hamwich, who's your pitcher? Who's your home run call today?
My favorite pitcher, point per dollar, is going to be Johan Oviedo. I've said it all day. No Soler. Great pitcher's park. This Marlins team doesn't scare me. So give me Johan Oviedo to get 40+ points on FanDuel with that quality start, and hopefully we can pick up the win there as well. Home run call of the day. I'm not going to take any Braves just because I think that's cheating. I really like this guy today, and I've talked all day about I'm not scared of this pitcher. Give me Christian Yelich as my home run call of the day.
All right. Well, I like that. Nice little Christian Yelich there with a leadoff bomb in Milwaukee. My pitcher, I talked about him quite a bit. I'm going to go up in that top range. Going to be very, very low owned. Going to be squeezed between those top guys. I get it, right? It is a good weather game. It is the best ballpark on the slate outside of Coors Field, which is obviously on the afternoon slate. But I'm going to go Mr. 9,300, Charlie Morton there in that Braves game. Should have the run support. I think he has the strikeout upside here. I could see 6-7 strikeouts here for Charlie Morton, and one of those covetable Charlie Morton spots where he goes out there and throws 25, 26 DraftKings points. So I like him quite a bit. My hitter, I'm gonna go on a ledge here, and I'm gonna go to the same game as you. Give them a little. I'm gonna avoid the Braves, right? I'm gonna avoid the Braves. I could have came on here and said Mr. Ronald Acuna, Ozuna, something like that, but I'm gonna go in the 7-hole for the Brewers. I'm gonna go to Andrew Monasterio. Nice little dual position eligibility, second base, shortstop eligible, just 2,100. I think he takes Mr. Savale deep in Cleveland there in great hitting weather overall. So nice little stack option, little wraparound stack there to pair with Hamwich's boy Yelich, and maybe a little mini Brewer stack gets the job done against Savale. But that's going to do it for us on Ship It Nation. We appreciate everyone hanging out today on this Sunday. Hopefully everyone enjoys the weather. I know it's supposed to be pretty nice weather across the country. Get out there, enjoy some time with your family, your kids, spend some time at the pool, at the lake, doing whatever, watch some baseball. Obviously, it's Sunday night baseball coming up. We got the Angels back in Coors Field this afternoon as well. See if they can drop a couple touchdowns again against that Rockies team overall. But for Mr. Hamwich, I'm Nades. We'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one.